Everyone agrees that there once lived a man named Jesus of Nazareth. But who was he? That is widely debated. Was he the Son of God? Was he a prophet? Was he a zealot? These are all important questions, but here's another one. Was he smart? As Dallas Willard points out, many people today, Christian and non-Christian alike, assume that Jesus isn't a relevant teacher for our real lives. When it comes to something like money, we are prepared to learn from all kinds of experts, but not Jesus. And Willard concludes, Jesus is master only because he is maestro. Jesus is Lord can mean little in practice to someone who has to hesitate before saying Jesus is smart. He is not just nice, he is brilliant. He is the smartest man who ever lived. Now, whether or not you agree with Willard, he raises an interesting question. What if Jesus is smart? More specifically, what if he is an expert in the area of finances? What if he is the best financial advisor the world has ever seen? You know, Jesus loved to talk about money. He talked about money more than any other topic except for the kingdom of God. He had a lot to say on the subject. And by reading Luke 16, we get the privilege of sitting in on one of his money seminars. Now, Jesus begins his seminar by telling a story. And our hero in this story is a money manager. And although it's not spelled out in the text, I am 99% sure that this money manager got his business degree from the University of Southern California. All signs are that he is a USC grad. Now, after spending years working for Deloitte, he is hired to oversee the investments of the Bill Gates of his day. He's supposed to be investing Bill Gates' money wisely, but Bill catches word that he's squandering his portfolio. So it turns out investing exclusively with Bernie Madoff wasn't the best idea after all. So Mr. Gates calls in our hero and tells him, "You're fired. You've got 2 days to get all the books in order, and I want to know where every dime has gone." So, does our hero take this news like a man? Does he suck in his chest, hum the USC fight song, and say, "There are plenty of billionaires out there who would love to have my services"? No. Our hero is a wimp. Our hero hears the news and says, "Fired? What am I going to do? I'm not strong enough to dig. And I'm too ashamed to beg. What's left? What's left? Ah, yes, I can cheat. I've got a plan. I've got a game plan so that after I get fired, all kinds of people will open up their homes to me." So he jumps into his BMW and drops by his business partners. All the business partners who own his boss money, and the good thing is that they're also USC grads. So he visits the first one and he asks, "How much do you owe my boss?" And the business partner replies, $100 million. Our hero says, "You mean 50 million, right?" And the business partner says, "Oh yeah, I mean 50 million," as he edits his file. Our hero then visits another business partner. "How much do you owe my boss?" He responds, 80,000 shares. Our hero winks and whispers, "You mean 50,000, right?" He says, "Oh yeah, I didn't mean 80,000. I meant 50,000. Fight on." That's what USC Trojans like to say to each other. Do you get the picture of what our hero is doing? In essence, he's cheating with his boss's investments in order to set himself up for the future. He is networking in order to make friends. He is securing the best possible future for himself through any means necessary. Now, when his boss, Mr. Gates, finds out what he's doing, we might expect him to say, send this white-collar crook to the slammer. But instead, he says, oh, you're good. Now I remember why I hired you in the first place. The boss commends the dishonest manager for acting shrewdly. Then Jesus says, for the children of this age are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than are the children of light. In other words, as my followers, I want you to look around the world and learn from those who aren't following me. Now, at this point, a lot of Christians start to say, Jesus, are you sure about this financial advice? Let's just keep this story away from young children. Being shrewd. That's what Jesus is commending here. Knowing what to do in order to set yourself up for the best future. Like the business major who meticulously maps out his class schedule and strategically takes the right summer internships and even buys that perfect suit for the interview. That's being shrewd. Jesus then says, make friends for yourselves by means of dishonest wealth, so that when it is gone, they may welcome you into the eternal homes. In other words, use your money to make friends who will welcome you into eternal life. Secure an eternal future by spending money on others. Now, here's where Jesus' financial advice differs from what you will find in the Wall Street Journal. Jesus seems to be implying that the most strategic way of investing money is to spend it on others, to give it away. He seems to be saying, use this green stuff called money, which frankly is tainted, for a seriously long-term investment. Spend it on people so that when it fails, these people may welcome you into life eternal. Use money to invest in people rather than using people to invest in money. So practically speaking, what does it look like to be shrewd in this way? What does it look like to invest money wisely in the way that Jesus recommends? Reminds me of my senior year of college. Going into my senior year, I knew it was going to be really hard to pay for college. But I also knew that it made the most sense for me to live on campus, and that's because of our Christian fellowship on campus. If I lived in a dorm, I could lead the Bible study in that dorm, and we thought that would be a strategic thing to do. So coming into the year, we had a time where our fellowship gathered and we studied the book of Acts. And we saw in the book of Acts how people shared their resources. They shared their resources so that everyone had enough. And one of the students in our fellowship, as we studied this, she felt convicted. Her parents were able to make her tuition payments, even give her some spending money each month. So she went out and she got a part-time job on campus. And that job paid her twice a month. And every time she got paid, she took her paycheck to the bank, she cashed it, she put all that cash in an envelope, and then she took that envelope into my dorm room, stuck it in a drawer of my dresser, and left it for me. So every single time she got paid, she gave 100% of her paycheck to me so that I could live in the dorm and I could do the ministry that we felt that I was called to do. This student used her money shrewdly, according to Jesus. She invested her money wisely by using it to love people. Side note, this student and I got married 8 years later. Long before we were dating. Seriously. Jesus completes his money seminar with these words. No slave can serve two masters, for a slave will either hate one and love the other, or be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. You cannot serve God and money. It's your choice. You can either love God or wealth. You can either serve God or money. It's one or the other. It can't be both. Now, some of us, when we hear this, we might say, oh, come on, Jesus. That's a false dichotomy. That is simply too black and white for a world that is colored in shades of gray. But what if Jesus is smart? What if he is the best financial advisor the world has ever seen? Jesus is telling us that money can become a god that competes with the God he calls Father. Money can be a god that is served, loved, and worshiped. From what I see, it is the dominant god in our country. What in America is served, loved, and worshiped more than money? I'd say nothing. Which is why we need to hear Jesus' warning. Don't let money become your god. And here's how we do that. By investing it wisely, by using it to make friends for ourselves, by giving it away. Every time Cindy put her money in that envelope and gave it away, she turned to money and declared, "You are not my God." She took away its sacred character. She removed it from its throne. If we want to find financial freedom, the first thing we have to realize is that there is a spiritual component to money. Money has a power and an influence. Each and every one of us is tempted to love it, to worship, to trust in it, to serve it as our God. How do we avoid this? By giving it away, by sharing it with others, by discovering the joy of generous living. Now, when it comes to being shrewd in this way, I think of a teenager named Jeff Hansen, who's part of a United Methodist church in Kansas City. As a result of tumors on his optical nerve, Jeff has gone through chemotherapy and is legally blind. At the same time, Jeff has a gift for entrepreneurship. And when he was 12 years old, he started a bistro, Jeff's Bistro, selling food in his front yard, and made several $1,000s doing this. And he's also a gifted artist. And he started turning his paintings into gift cards and selling these gift cards. And he started giving all of the money he made through these ventures to a foundation that serves children with eye disorders. From the age of 12 to 14, Jeff gave $15,000 to this foundation. Now, given his medical condition, the Make-A-Wish Foundation contacted Jeff and said, "What is your wish?" He said, "My wish is to meet Elton John." So later on, Elton John came into town for a concert, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation set it up so that Jeff could go to the concert and meet Elton John backstage. And when they met, they chatted for a while, and at the end, Jeff pulled out a check for $1,000 to Elton John's foundation for his AIDS foundation, and he gave the check to Elton John. So here was an 8th grader who attends a school for the blind, and he's giving Elton John money. Now, Elton John was there to bless Jeff, but Jeff ended up blessing Elton John. And he was so blown away by his generosity that he invited Jeff and his whole family to come to a concert in Dubai. Then a couple of weeks after they met, the foundation that Jeff has given this money to contacted him and said, "We just want you to know that we just received a check for $5,000 from Elton John." See, this student has discovered the joy of using his money to invest in people. Now, when it comes to dethroning money by investing it in others, my greatest hero, hands down, is John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist Church. Wesley lived in England in the 18th century. He grew up in extreme poverty. As a child, he saw his father marched off to debtor's prison. Later, Wesley became an Anglican priest and a tutor at Oxford University. And as the founder and leader of the Methodist movement, Wesley taught on money a lot. And when he did, he often spoke of one word that he hated. He described this word as stupid, miserable, vile, and diabolical. Any guesses on what word he's referring to? It's afford, as in, can you afford that? Or I can afford it. It drove him crazy when Methodists would say, I bought this because I could afford it. I bought these shoes because I could afford them. I bought that car because I could afford it. I took that vacation because I could afford it. Wesley understood if we spend our money based on what we can afford, we will never be able to follow Jesus' financial advice in Luke 16. We will miss out on the long-term benefits of using money to love people. Let's say I'm looking for a new TV, and I can afford a $2,000 TV. But if I decide to buy a simpler model for $500, I now have $1,500 that I can give away. And according to Jesus, no matter how nice my TV is, it won't welcome me into eternal life. But people will. I can actually use my money now to invest in something eternal. And according to Jesus, that is a very smart thing to do. Rather than basing our lifestyle on what we can afford, Wesley taught 3 simple principles: earn all you can, save all you can, give all you can. And the cool thing about Wesley is that he practiced what he preached. He did something that most Americans can't fathom. He kept his lifestyle and expenses the same as his income went up. In 1731, Wesley's living expenses were 28 pounds. His income was 30 pounds, so he gave away 2 pounds. The next year, his income doubled. He still lived on 28 pounds. By the 4th year, his income had reached 120 pounds. He was still living on 28 pounds, meaning he gave away 92 pounds. Now, Wesley became a very rich man through all of the literature that he published. One year, his income was 1,400 pounds. That year, he gave away 1,370 pounds, all but 30 pounds. He gave away 98% of his income. He gave away 98% of his income. I get the sense that Wesley thought Jesus was smart. I get the sense that Wesley thought Jesus was the best financial advisor in the world. I get the sense that Wesley thought it was foolish to ignore Jesus' advice, so he followed it to the best of his ability. One thing is for sure: if Jesus is smart, if Jesus knows what he's talking about, then Wesley made for himself not just hundreds, but thousands of friends who will welcome him into eternity. That is one party I don't want to miss. Amen.